Whoa!
Oh my god. I was hopping in the shower.
In just a few hours, Kilauea's summit turned into a high-risk ash and lava show. Lava fountains at Halemaʻumaʻu blasted up to about 500 meters high, throwing chunks of tephra up to 1 foot across onto Highway 11. Ash and glass-like debris forced officials to shut down Hawaiʻi Volcanoes National Park and close a long stretch of this key road, while an ashfall warning was issued for much of the Big Island. Here is the important part. The lava is still confined to the crater, but the real danger now is what is falling from the sky onto nearby communities.
Yeah, it's raining rocks. I don't think that's a liquid.
Kilauea is not erupting out in open neighborhoods. This episode is happening right inside Halemaʻumaʻu crater at the summit of Kilauea, inside Hawaiʻi Volcanoes National Park on the Big Island of Hawaii. USGS identifies it as Eruptive Episode 41, centered in an area that was already closed to the public before the fountains reached their peak. The official volcano alert level is Watch. The aviation color code is orange. That means the eruption is serious but still confined, with a moderate hazard to aircraft from ash and volcanic gas. According to the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory, lava first began to overflow quietly from vents on the crater floor in the early morning hours. The north vent started to send lava across the crater floor, while the south vent produced repeated overflows that spread wider with each pulse. At first, this looked like another low-level event inside a closed hazard zone. Then within a few hours, those vents turned into powerful lava fountains, forcing scientists to rethink the risk for people downwind. At their peak late in the morning, the lava fountains reached around 500 meters, or about 140 feet high. Those heights are not just a visual spectacle inside the crater. They act like a giant spray, blasting ash and glassy fragments into the wind and sending them toward communities and roads outside the park. National Weather Service forecasters in Honolulu responded by issuing an ashfall warning for much of the Big Island, while park and county officials moved to close key access points before conditions could get worse. Right after this, we will walk through the hour-by-hour timeline that turned a quiet overflow inside Halemaʻumaʻu into 500-meter lava fountains, and an ash emergency felt across the island.
Look at the tephra. It's even on the flowers. Sandy flowers.
The turning point began in the dark early on January 24, 2026, Hawaii time. At 3:52 a.m., the north vent inside Halemaʻumaʻu started to overflow lava continuously onto the crater floor. The spattering intensified, and by around 4:47 a.m., the bursts at this vent were reaching about 3 to 5 meters high, showing that pressure inside the system was rising. Between 4:11 a.m. and 7:22 a.m., the south vent went through at least 8 separate overflow pulses. The first 4 were short and stayed close to the vent. The later ones lasted 10 to 15 minutes and pushed lava much farther across the crater floor. For a while, this still looked like a contained summit event. Lava stayed inside the existing crater, and there were no signs of breakout along the East Rift or Southwest Rift zones that would threaten neighborhoods. From 7:54 a.m. to 10:15 a.m., USGS recorded almost continuous overflow from the north vent, while the south vent continued to spill lava off and on. Tilt meters at the Wekahuna station showed clear signals of changing pressure. According to HVO, those trends meant episode 41 was likely to begin in full later in the day. That assessment was confirmed at 10:15 a.m., when the Wekahuna tilt record switched into deflation. At Kilauea, that deflation pattern is a well-known sign that magma is moving upward and outward just before an eruption intensifies. At 11:10 a.m., HVO officially declared the start of Eruptive Episode 41, Both the north vent and south vent at Halemaʻumaʻu shifted into sustained lava fountains. Within the next hour, those fountains climbed rapidly, first to more than 250 meters and then to around 500 meters by 12:10 p.m., sending ash and tephra high into the windfield over the summit. Next, we will see how those towering fountains translated into ashfall warnings, closed highways, and a national park completely shut to visitors within just a few hours. For people living downwind of Kilauea, Episode 41 did not feel like a distant, abstract event inside a national park. According to the National Weather Service in Honolulu, ash and tephra were already falling in areas like Volcano Village, Mauna Loa Estates, and ʻŌhiʻa Estates as the lava fountains peaked. Residents who usually rely on clear mountain air suddenly found a gray film settling on cars, roofs and yards, and a sky marked by a drifting volcanic plume. Even without lava outside the crater, everyday routines were forced to slow down under a layer of fine ash. Highway 11, the main road cutting through this part of the island, became a hazard zone. Emergency alerts from Hawaii Police Department and National Park Service described tephra covering the pavement and visibility dropping sharply. The surface was glass slick, dangerous even for careful drivers. The road was closed in both directions between mile markers 24.5 and 32, cutting off the usual drive through Hawaiʻi Volcanoes National Park. Travelers had to turn around, wait for updates, or take longer routes around the closed segment, turning simple trips into uncertain journeys. Inside and around the park, fog and glass-like volcanic fibers added another layer of risk. USGS warned that sulfur dioxide gas and volcanic smog could irritate lungs, eyes, and hearts, especially for people with asthma or heart disease. They also highlighted Pele's hair and other sharp glass fragments drifting more than 10 to 15 kilometers from the vents, landing on skin, in water catchment systems, and on outdoor surfaces. Families who depend on rainwater catchment had to think about the safety of their tanks, while parents of sensitive children watched closely for coughing or stinging eyes. And as ash, gas, and glassy debris spread farther from the crater, it became clear that the real impact of Episode 41 on daily life across the island was only beginning to unfold. At island scale, Episode 41 reshaped the day for a large part of the Big Island. The National Weather Service upgraded its initial ashfall advisory to a full ashfall warning that covered much of the eastern, southeastern, southern, and interior areas of the island until 6 a.m. on January 25th. Forecast discussions warned that ash and tephra could reduce visibility, coat roads and buildings, and interfere with water, power, and drainage systems. For many residents, that meant treating the eruption not as a distant show, but as a real air and infrastructure hazard that could last through the night. Hawaiʻi Volcanoes National Park, usually a major draw for visitors and a source of income for local businesses, was closed completely. All entrances and popular viewpoints, such as Kilauea Overlook and Keanakekoi, were shut down because ash and tephra were falling directly into visitor areas. Tour companies had to cancel trips. Hotels, restaurants, and shops that depend on park traffic suddenly saw reservations change or disappear. Even if this closure proves temporary, it is a reminder of how quickly a single eruption episode can disrupt the fragile balance between tourism, safety, and local livelihoods. Meanwhile, communities downwind had to think about more than just cleaning ash off cars. USGS and health guidance stressed that fog and sulfur dioxide could aggravate asthma and heart conditions, and that Pele's hair and other glassy fragments could contaminate rainwater catchment systems. People who rely on rooftop collection had to consider shutting off intake or flushing tanks. Public works crews faced the prospect of clearing ash and tephra from roads and drains before the next heavy rain could wash this material into pipes and culverts. Even without destroyed homes or burned fields, Episode 41 created a slow, messy workload for families, businesses, and agencies that will continue after the fountains have faded from the news. Right after this, we will look at how local authorities, scientists, and park staff moved to manage closures, warnings, and cleanup efforts while keeping residents and visitors safe around an active summit eruption. On the response side, episode 41 became a test of how well Hawaii's agencies can manage an intense but confined summit eruption. According to USGS and civil defense updates, the first priority was clear: keep lava activity inside the crater from turning into a wider public emergency. Scientists at the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory closely tracked tilt, seismicity, gas output, and fountain heights, issuing rapid Kilauea messages as conditions changed. Their reports confirmed that all lava activity remained inside Halemaʻumaʻu and that there were no signs of new intrusions along the East Rift or Southwest Rift zones that could threaten neighborhoods. That technical reassurance allowed decision-makers to focus on ash, gas, and road safety. Local authorities and park managers moved quickly. Hawaiʻi Volcanoes National Park was closed to all visitors, and Highway 11 was shut in both directions between mile markers 24.5 and 32. Hawaii Police Department and National Park Service used emergency alerts and public statements to warn drivers about ash, tafra, and glass-slick pavement, and to urge people to stay away from the closed zone. The National Weather Service maintained its Ashfall Warning through the night, providing clear guidance about possible impacts on water, power, and drainage facilities. Together, these actions aimed to keep both residents and tourists out of harm's way while the eruption was at its most energetic. At the same time, communication about health risks was stepped up. USGS and partner agencies pointed the public to guidance on VOG, sulfur dioxide, and Pele's hair, reminding people with asthma or heart disease to limit outdoor exposure and to protect rainwater catchment systems from contamination. The fact that there are no official reports so far of deaths, missing people, or eruption-related injuries suggests that these closures, warnings, and long experience with Kilauea are helping to reduce the worst outcomes of this event. Now we will step back from the immediate response and ask what episode 41 is really telling us about living with an active volcano, from land use and tourism to air quality, infrastructure, and long-term readiness. Episode 41 is more than a dramatic moment inside Halemaʻumaʻu. It is a reminder of what it means to live with an active volcano that can switch from quiet overflow to 500-meter lava fountains in a single morning. Even when lava stays inside the crater, ash, VOG, and glass-like debris can reach highways, towns, and critical services across a wide area of the Big Island. That means planning for Kīlauea is not only about lava flows and new vents. It is also about air quality, transport, water systems, and tourism that can be disrupted without a single house being touched by molten rock. From a land use and infrastructure perspective, Episode 41 underlines the importance of keeping key facilities in dense housing away from the highest risk zones, while still accepting that ash and VOG can reach far beyond mapped lava hazard lines. It shows why tilt meters, gas sensors, and seismic networks at Kilauea are not just scientific tools, but early warning instruments for everyday life. When tilt records show deflation and gas output climbs, agencies can move quickly to adjust road closures, park access, and health messaging before conditions deteriorate. That kind of rapid coordination is central to living safely next to a restless summit. For tourism and local economies, this event also carries a clear message. A park closure and a major highway shutdown can arrive with only a few hours' notice. Communities that depend on visitor traffic need backup plans, clear communication channels, and ways to support workers affected by sudden cancellations. For families who rely on rainwater, Episode 41 reinforces the need for good filtration and the habit of watching ash and Pele's hair advisories as closely as weather forecasts. In short, this eruption episode shows that long-term readiness for Kilauea is not a single project, but a continuous practice shared by scientists, officials, and residents. As we step back from Episode 41 at Kilauea's summit, one fact stands out. This was a powerful eruption that stayed inside the crater, yet still managed to reach far beyond it. Lava fountains up to about 500 meters high sent ash, VOG, and glass-like debris across much of the Big Island, closing Hawaiʻi Volcanoes National Park, shutting a key stretch of Highway 11 and forcing thousands of people to think about air quality, water safety, and changing daily routines, even with no confirmed injuries or deaths. At the same time, This episode shows how much experience Hawaii has gained in living with an active volcano. Scientists at HVO, forecasters at the National Weather Service, and local authorities moved quickly with warnings, closures, and clear health guidance. Residents adjusted travel plans, watched ash and fog advisories, and took steps to protect their families and water supplies. That combination of science, public action, and respect for the volcano is what keeps a dramatic summit eruption from turning into a wider disaster. If you found this update useful, consider sharing it so more people understand what is really happening at Kilauea and how ash and fog can affect daily life even when lava stays inside the crater. And if you are able, support local organizations that help protect health, monitor air quality, and keep island communities prepared for future events. What do you think is the most important lesson episode 41 teaches us about living safely with Kīlauea in the years ahead?